Remember the 5th of November? Well, I was going to do this scenario actually on November the 5th, but I had a few computer problems at the time, so finally got round to doing it. We're expecting a little higher traffic today due to the Bonfire Night festivities. Let's get your shift finished on time so that you can check out the fireworks on the Thames. So here we are at Gospel Oak, and as I'm sure you'll well be familiar with, this is the cafe that's there in real life. So if you want to order yourself a latte or a flat white or a cappuccino before we get the service underway, soft drinks, sandwiches and chocolate all available as well, of course. It's good to see all the passengers kitted out in the appropriate winter wear for a crisp autumnal evening. So let's get set up and underway. So set the master key first of all to on, and the reverser to forward, and then the lights to night running, and then we need also to set the AWS up, which we'll do in a moment, but first of all the pantograph into AC mode. We've raised that pantograph. We're now going to unlock the doors. And it really does look fantastic, doesn't it? In the night time, lit up absolutely beautifully. So we have got to do the AWS. So we'll do that by messing about with this panel here.
TPWS and AWS operational.
Remember to close there as well, because otherwise you'll hear that rattling as we go along. Let's put the cab light off as well. You wouldn't be driving along with the cab light on in real life. So Upper Holloway is our first stop, and it's great to see the autumnal colours on the trees as well at this time of the night as well. It really does feel representative, and I think you'll get a glimpse of the moon as well along the way. And you do get a good view of the line ahead with this Aventra as well, the 710. Now the only thing that's perhaps unrealistic, you'd expect to see fireworks all along the way just about everywhere, but I suppose that's a bit of a game limitation, but it's quite good that we'll get to see some fireworks in places, at least I imagine we will, not to give too much away. Yeah, I really was all set to do this scenario originally back on November the 5th, and then I had a whole manner of streaming problems, and it took me about 2 weeks to sort out, but fortunately, that's all a thing of the past now. And we have to be a little more cautious approaching the platforms because, of course, you don't get quite such a good view as being in the daylight. this route itself came out just before Easter time, and I mean it's relatively short, but there's plenty in it to keep you interested, and the stations themselves absolutely perfectly modelled. Now we did have a suggestion that we needed to be a little bit vigilant because it might be slightly rowdy at times, this service. It all looks calm and peaceful at the moment. They're quite busy, as you can see.
Mind's the gap between the train and the platform. Mind's the gap.
Running slightly late already. Still haven't had a massive go at the freight that's available. Of course, Class 66s to and from Ripple Lane. Not that often that I do nighttime scenarios, but this just seemed like a golden opportunity. Completely missed the 30 mile an hour. Always catches me out, that does. It's quite a long stretch as well, and it just feels as though it's relatively straight and you never quite get your head around why it should be 30 at this point. We are slightly on a downhill stretch as well, so we should be kind of conscious of the speed creeping up. The marker's right at the end of the platform this time. Might have overdone it very, very slightly. And of course what you're aiming for is that you can see it through the quarter light, although it's a bit difficult to pick that out at night time anyway. We're not far off though, I reckon. I think I made the point when I first drove the route, but of course this game's been around for Train Sim Classic for this line for some time, but it kind of did bring it to life when it was brought out for Train Sim World. And again, good at the time of recording that we now know that we're going to get more of the North London line. I mean, this isn't really part of the North London line. This is, well, it's officially known as the Suffragette line, but it's always going to be called, I think, by most people as the Goblin line, reference to Gospel Oak and Barking. We are on absolutely level ground now, so we should be able to pretty much coast and keep this going at 30. Haringey Green Lanes is our next stop. We are getting again a little bit downhill there. Again, a real driver would be absolutely on top of these gradients right the way through, and it wouldn't really be permitted, I don't think, to be creeping over by a mile an hour or two here and there. You'd be trying to keep it absolutely within the speed limits and to drive it properly. I've said before, but I'd love to excuse me, just spend the time and just try and really get the hang of these speed limits. It looks incredibly busy here, it has to be said. So there's a lot of people waiting. Still getting some dodgy movement though, aren't we, of the passengers? That is something I'd love to see a bit of work put into, a bit of love to try and correct that, because it could, I mean, at times it just, I mean, it's hilarious really, but it would be good to get it a bit more authentic. So South Tottenham is next. Still at 30. It's nice sometimes to see the outside views and to get rid of the little menu at the top, but then of course, because you can't see the speed limit, you can't see the speedometer, then you do start speeding, so it's just getting a happy medium. Wow, what was that? Best to check out what's happening at the next station. I mean, to be fair, I didn't hear anything, but there's something on board that's happened. We'll find out when we get to South Tottenham. Unusual for me to do a scenario as well rather than one of the timetable mode services, but this is where you can get a little bit more creativity. Still at 30, in fact just before South Tottenham station we even dropped down to 20 mile an hour. That's just past the signal. And this section of the route feels incredibly slow, but we will soon be speeding up because beyond South Tottenham we're going up to 45. Then we can kind of ease it down to 20. I think the 20 is literally, I can see the board just coming up, but I think it's just literally just before the platforms. And we are now climbing slightly. Now we're going to find out what was going on now back there. appears that there are some aggressive passengers on board. Fortunately, other passengers have already called in the British Transport Police. Unfortunately, this will delay the service. Go talk to Detective Chief Inspector Nick Angle to find out what happened so you can fill out a report at the end of your shift. Okay, well, wait a minute then. Let's talk to the police officer on the platform. DCI Nick Angle, can't believe we're the only ones available for this. Good evening, could you tell me what happened?
Ticket checks are in operation at this station. Please have your tickets available for inspection.
Alright, 2 of your passengers were avoiding paying the fare and started kicking off. PC Butterworth has apprehended the suspects and will be questioning them down at the police station. Thanks, DCI Angle. Right, so we've talked to our police officer. Let's get back onto the train. Hopefully that's the shenanigans dealt with there. Now I can see some flickering ahead. I think we might have some fireworks in view coming up. So it's starting to get a bit more exciting, this scenario. Speed up slightly as well, although we do have a 20 again coming up. Kind of how you remember Bonfire Night, isn't it? One of these crisp November evenings. Of course, it's not always like that. Sometimes I can remember quite a few where it's been quite wet and windy and miserable. Again, we have to slow down for this 20. Quite a display going on back there. And we should get a better view of it in a minute. We don't want to get too carried away with speeding up because the stop is not too far away. There's quite a display going on there, look. There it is. Taking place in the park. It's time we've been distracted with all that going on. We get a better view somewhere. Anyway, I think you get the idea. Good to hear the sounds as well. Walthamstow Queen's Road is the next station. There's such a lot that had to go into creating this route, and yes, it's very short, but there's certainly plenty going on. Here's another 710. A bit like when I was showing off the 378 on Train Sim Classic the other night on the North London line. There is stops, it feels as though it's every few yards. I'm very much looking forward to the time when we can drive what's now known as the Mildmay line, and we can do the section on Train Sim World between Wellston Junction and Stratford. And that'll be with the 378 as well. And it's good as well that you can see passengers walking away as well, well away from the steps, and just that feeling as though they are actually departing away into the real world. I'm generally not a massive fan of doing nighttime scenarios, because I think particularly if you're doing a kind of a longer distance journey and it's dark and there's not a great deal you can see, then it's not a massive amount of fun. But this is lit up pretty nicely, and all the fireworks shenanigans going on as well. Catenary is all nicely modelled too. Of course, this line only electrified a few years ago. It used to be very much the preserve of diesels, and we had the Sprinters and the 172s, and it always felt a little bit unloved overall, the Barking to Gospel Oak line, but very much now used by many people now. We're trying to get to the start of the platform ramps at about 30 mile an hour and then drift in. Shouldn't really be using third step in the brakes. That's kind of not really a done thing. Almost looked as though, well, she seemed to get stuck there, that passenger, and then after a few attempts walked away. So Leighton Stone High Road is next. I was really quite excited when it came out, the fact that there was a brand new station that was only opened in the last couple of years. I think it was opened during that very, very hot summer. Certainly wasn't this year, but a couple of years back now. But again, it's felt sort of fresh and modern. And then we've had that experience repeated with the 5 Circle line and them doing the Leven branch as well. And that's even more modern, having only been opened a few months before. Was it opened in June, I think, in real life in Scotland? I wonder if we're going to see any more fireworks before the end of the journey. Of course, it was suggested that we might be in time to see the fireworks at the end of the shift. Just try and go up an angle a bit. It's a bit irritating when you try to zoom in on the train. It keeps lurching back and forth. I mean, although the control was quite responsive, you almost feel as though it takes a good few seconds for power to get taken, and you're almost fooled into putting it into full power, which is completely unnecessary. And again, we're on a little bit of a downhill gradient, so we have to be careful about reaching the 45 mile an hour because we will otherwise gain speed. Wanstead Park is next. So as well as the regular live streams that generally do them on Sunday at 5 o'clock and try and make a 4-hour stream of those, I would like to try and get more of these videos up. It's been quite a while since I've put up a recorded video. And hope you're enjoying the content. And if you've not watched one of my videos before and you're new to the channel, then I'd be massively grateful if you could like and subscribe. Try and boost the channel. Very much a mixture of Train Sim World and Train Sim Classic. And it's quite a while since I've done anything aeroplane and airshow related as well. I like they've done one or two things with the passengers, things like them having luggage and that little glance at the watch as they got on the train, and we've had the looking at the iPhone and taking photos and all that sort of stuff. There's no doubting the fact that some of the detail in and around the stations has been nothing short of absolutely fantastic, really. And I know they've had Dovetail Games quite a lot of support and help from London Overground as well, and that's carried through with them doing the Lioness line as part of the West Coast Main Line south as well, with London Euston to Watford Junction. And when we do get this North London line creation, I mean, a lot of people quite disappointed that we're not going as far as Richmond. It'll be interesting to see if the track's put in, because you wonder whether there's still the potential that eventually it could be extended to Stratford, but to Richmond rather, at some point down the line. You kind of hope so. You saw those red signals in the distance. It was a little bit disconcerting, but you kind of got to remind yourself that we'd had green, so it couldn't really be for us. Well, talking about fixing the passengers, that wasn't quite right, was it? I think they kind of overstretched themselves a little bit, Dovetail Games, in terms of the passengers, because they clearly wanted to create a excuse me, they wanted to create a route with the busyness of the London Overground, but clearly not quite perfectly done. We've just got a couple of stations left. So Barking, which was the original terminus of this line. In fact, of course, there was a bay platform that they would go into, but of course that nowadays we go on to Barking Riverside, and that's where you wonder whether we might get some more fireworks at the end of the run. Barking station itself, I mean, it's very impressively modelled, but what we could really do with is a little bit more added in terms of, oh, I can see some fireworks there. There we are. Very nice. We'd like to see, you know, the S-stop tube trains, and of course if they ever did the Metropolitan line or the District line, then that would be a natural fit to go alongside here, and the C2C trains as well. I mean, actually they're basically another version of the Adventurer that you could use for those, and the similar units that they used to use for the, were the 377s or a variant of them anyway. Oh, there's more fireworks. Try and go just below 30 for the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit into the platforms at Barking. And there's now the dedicated up and down platforms for the Gospel out to Barking service. We're a little bit further down, aren't we? Certainly remember watching a bit of the stream on the night of November the 5th from Lewis. They have that amazing fireworks. Well, there's a number of fireworks displays, and that parade down the street as well. They certainly do take Bonfire Night seriously. Just a couple of miles away from our ultimate destination of Barking Riverside. This is about the only time we can get any decent sort of speed up as well. For the first time in the entire journey, we have a 60-mile-an-hour speed limit. Shortly taking the branch for our destination at Barking Riverside, and I'm sure there's a lot of development going up there. I mean, certainly at the time when this route was created, there's not a great deal there, and that might still be the case at the moment. I'm not totally sure. feather indicating that we are branching away to the right, and then we drop down to 40 miles an hour. Hoping as well during December, recording this just before, a couple of weeks before Christmas. Sometimes hard to pin times on YouTube videos because you could be watching this months later. But I'm hoping to do a review of the year at some point of 2024. Just looking back particularly at the UK content, which is kind of my main interest. It's a fun unit to drive, and certainly enjoy driving on this route. And you can see more fireworks. Well, it was telling us that there was a mobile bonfire on display. I didn't quite see it, to be honest. You can see more fireworks ahead. Done a good job to try and give you that November the 5th feel with this scenario. We are shortly about to enter the ultra-modern Barking Riverside station. Feels now as though there's fireworks all around us. Beautiful. It's been quite difficult actually driving in real life on November the 5th, that you don't get too distracted by the fireworks going on. No, just a reminder, we need to speak to the signaller. Yeah, we're just telling him about that mobile bonfire. This is signaller driver 2J09 approaching UR819, confirmed that there was a mobile bonfire. And there you can see all the fireworks going off. Finally, Barking Riverside, later than scheduled. Shut down this train and get yourself over to the fireworks along the Thames. You've earned it. There we go. So that was Bonfire Night. And again, apologies that I never managed to do it at the time on November the 5th. Finally got round to doing it. It's a tremendous scenario and quite a good bit of fun. And if you own the Goblin line on Trains and World 5, then well worth having a go at that. It's one of the pre-set scenarios that's available with the pack. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you've not done so before, I'd be really grateful if you could like and subscribe. So until next time, and the live streams normally Sunday 5 o'clock, try and do 4 hours, then come and join me for that on the same channel on YouTube. I'll usually put a post up just to remind and give a little bit of a heads up as what's in store. So until next time, it's goodbye, but we'll leave you with some real fireworks just to end the recording with. So enjoy those as well. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
4, 3, 2, 1.